Yo, what's up, Broncos country? This is Eddie with Rocky Mountain Blitz. So today's title of the video is Sutton will be at minicamp. So I wanted to break this down and talk about this today and go over, everything and just talk about, Sutton at minicamp and how it's going to help Nick. So here we go. So today on DMVR, with Zach, Zach and all them, Sutton was on the show and they were talking to him. He's back in Denver. I think he just flew in. I think either today or yesterday he flew in. You know, and they were talking to him. Brought him on the show, talked to him about everything. So, but they asked him towards the end of the video, "Are you going to be at minicamp next week?" And Cortland Sutton said, "Yes, I will be at minicamp." So that's good. It's good that Cortland Sutton is going to be at minicamp. So pretty much he just held out for OTAs, voluntary OTAs. So he didn't really have to be there. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, he's coming now because if he doesn't, he's going to get fined, which is true. So, but if you guys watch the DMVR podcast today and just listen to Sutton talk about how, he wants to get the Broncos back to the promised land. He wants us, get us back into the playoffs. He was even saying that over like the last couple of seasons that they were like 6 plays away from getting like 11 to 12 wins, especially this past year. They were like 6 plays away from getting 11 or 12 wins and, possibly winning the division and making the playoffs. And it was just such a great thing to see. Like, Sutton seems like he's very pumped. It seems like he's very eager to get into the building and help Bo Nix. And that's the other key piece of this. Now that he's going to be at mandatory minicamp, now he can start developing that, chemistry with Bo Nix, which is something big. Like, I understand we got a lot of receivers. The receiver room is stacked this year, but as we know, we had a stacked receiver room. I think it was either last year or the year before. We had a lot of pieces. We had KJ, we had Jerry Jeudy, had Sutton, you had Tim Patrick. You had a bunch of guys there, and it's like if one injury happens, it's like you're down a guy, and you're down depth on the depth chart at any position, honestly. And last year, we saw that a lot. Like we had Sutton and Jeudy. We're like, cool. We have Tim Patrick, and then training camp he got hurt. So and you had little Jordan Humphrey that Sean Payton brought in. But this year, you got Sutton now, who's going to be at mandatory minicamp. You got Josh Reynolds. You got Tim Patrick, hopefully, if he can stay healthy. You got Troy Franklin, who you drafted in the 4th round for Bo Nix. You got Marvin Mims. And you got little Jordan Humphrey coming back. So we got depth there. So hopefully, everybody stays healthy. Not just at the receiver room, but every position. Everybody stays healthy. And but it's a good thing. Like Cortland Sutton is the true number 1 on this team, and for him to be here and start developing chemistry and timing with Bo Nix is huge. That's really going to help Bo Nix's development. And granted, we got mandatory minicamp this coming up week, and then after that, it's pretty much done with until training camp. Like we got next week with mandatory minicamp, and then you're pretty much going to have like a month and a half with nothing on the Broncos, like nothing, until training camp starts, which is going to be about the end of July. Hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we get the dates for Broncos training camp, because best believe I will be out there. And, as much as I can, I'm going to try. Like last year, I got to go 1 day, but this year I'm going to try to go at least 2, if not 3, because I want to go out there and watch the competition. And that's the other thing too. Like, it's kind of been a quarterback competition, between Bo Nix, Jared Stidham, and Zach Wilson. As most of you know, Jared Stidham and Bo Nix, they're tied. They're even. Like, I've been seeing a lot of reports saying, oh, well, but Jared Stidham gives the Broncos the best chance to win the most games this year. That is not accurate at all by any stretch of the imagination, in my opinion. Like, if Jared Stidham and Bo Nix are that close in OTAs, now mind you, it's just OTAs, it's just practice. I don't really think the competition has started. It's going to start next week in mandatory minicamp. That's when they're really going to start doing things. And then training camps when a real competition is going to start. Like, you could say it's going to start next week in mandatory minicamp, but it's going to be a couple of days. Then they're going to be off for a month and a half. And they come back, and then they're going to start going at it again. But with that said, it's like, if Bo Nix is already pretty much right there with Jared Stidham. They're both the same. I wouldn't say same player, but they're even. If you want to say there's a competition that went on through OTAs, they're even. By the time the season starts, Bo Nix is going to be ahead of Jared Stidham in every category. I guarantee you that. And if that's the case, I don't see how that Jared Stidham is going to lead to giving the Broncos more wins. That's not the case. If they're tied right now in OTAs, if you're keeping a scorecard on this right now, by the time the season starts, Bo Nix is going to be better than Jared Stidham. He's going to have 4 or 5 months in this, or I'm sorry, about 3-4 months into the system. He's going to learn. He's already picking it up. He's already doing checks at the line. He's doing everything correctly, accurately. He's getting it down. And you get through training camp and he's in there. They got pads on. They're hitting each other. They're going, he's doing his cadence. He's doing his checks at the line. There's no reason to think that Bo Nix can't give this team more wins than Jared Stidham. And honestly, I'll take it a step further. I think Bo Nix is going to get us more than 8 wins this year. Russell Wilson last year with Courtland Sutton, who got 10 touchdowns, by the way. With Russell Wilson, Courtland Sutton got 10 touchdowns. Russell Wilson only accounted for 7 wins. Jared Stidham accounted for 1. I strongly believe that Sutton coming back now, to mandatory minicamp, training camp, starts developing that timing, that rhythm, that chemistry with Bo Nix. I can see Sutton getting more than 10 touchdowns this year and finally going over 1,000 yards. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe he's going to be trying to target Troy Franklin a lot, but a lot of teams I think are going to see that. I'm not saying that Troy Franklin's better than Courtland Sutton, but with Bo Nix might try to target him a little too much. And, I think teams are going to try to take that away from him, that chemistry he has with Troy Franklin. But if he starts building that chemistry with Courtland Sutton could have a monster year this year. I mean, monsterish. If him and Bo Nix really develop that chemistry between next week's mandatory minicamp and training camp and preseason, I could see Sutton going off for 12 touchdowns this year and probably 1,300 yards easily. Because, I'm not saying Sutton's going to be, he's not going to be like the Devontae Adams of the Raiders. They don't really have a whole lot of great weapons. Devontae Adams, or even just average weapons. You can say Hunter Renfrow maybe, but they don't have Darren Waller no more. Adams was their offense. But this year, like I said, they got Marvin Mims, who's probably going to have a good year this year, hopefully have a breakout year. Troy Franklin, who's going to be one of Bo Nix's favorite targets. Josh Reynolds, they brought him in because he's a security blanket. He can catch the ball. He's a good number 2. Tim Patrick, if he stays healthy, he's a good receiver that can catch the ball. And then Sutton's going to be the number 1. I seriously think Sutton, if him and Bo Nix get that timing, that chemistry and everything down together, Sutton and Bo Nix, they're going to combine. Sutton's going to go for 1,400 yards, and he's going to get probably 12 touchdowns this year. A lot of people think that the Broncos are going to run the football. I don't think so. I think Sean Payton's finally going to be able to run the offense he wants. And with Sutton back, that makes a big, big difference. And with all the weapons they have, yes, they have McLaughlin. They have Williams. They drafted Estime. They got Pirine. I understand all that. They have 4 good running backs on the roster. Well, we don't know what Estime is yet. Hopefully, he turns out to be that stud running back, another one. But also the receivers. Lucas Kroll is going to have a bigger role probably this year if Greg Dulcich ain't ready to go. We heard Marvin Mims is going to have a bigger role. You drafted Troy Franklin, who is Bo Nix's best target in Oregon. You're going to have hopefully Timmy P back if he doesn't get hurt again. You're going to have Josh Reynolds and Courtland Sutton. This team, I'm not saying they're going to be going deep every freaking play. This ain't going to be a air it out down the field offense. It's not. Even if they pass with Sutton and all those weapons they have, it's going to be short intermediate routes. What Sean Payton likes. Short intermediate routes over the middle, hitting your target, timing routes over the middle, precision, everything, accuracy. That's what we're going to see, especially in the red zone. Sean Payton can draw up plays in the red zone. He did it all last year. Just Sutton couldn't, I'm sorry, not Sutton, but Russell Wilson couldn't see over the field. The best, honestly, to me, the best touchdown pass of last year for the Broncos was that pass to Cortland Sutton from Russell Wilson in the Bills game where he just dragged his toes. But yeah, that was a broken play. But at the same time, like, I'm sorry, I keep saying Sutton's name, but Sean Payton's going to draw up these, plays inside the red zone to get guys screaming open, in the flat, across the middle, maybe an out route here and there. But he's going to draw these plays up. And Bo Nix is like I said, you ain't got to have that offense where you got to freaking hook it, 60 yards downfield. You can, I'm not saying dink and dunk, but short intermediate routes, pick up like 10 yards here, 10 yards there, 15 yards there. That's what Bo Nix is going to do. And honestly, I know a lot of people think like 15 yards is a deep pass. I don't. I think 20 yards and plus is a deep pass. You'll probably see a couple of those this year, but it's gonna be more of 10. A lot of the under stuff is probably gonna be like, a route to go like 5, 6, maybe 7 yards and get the player into space and let him pick up some yards. But you're gonna be seeing a lot of 10 to 15 yard passes too. The intermediate route, 10 to 15 yards down the field, timing routes, over the middle, post routes, slants, all that kind of stuff. You're going to be seeing a lot more of. And Bo Nix is going to be hitting these guys. And like I said, I believe Sutton, if he gets that chemistry and timing and everything down with Bo Nix, man, I'm telling you, the sky is the limit with those two. And I hate to say it. This part I don't hate saying. I think they're going to give Cortland Sutton a $2-3 million raise. I do. I think they'll give it to him in good conscience. But honestly, after this year, I don't see Sutton coming back. Like, they got a lot of players to pay that they really need to. They got to figure out what they're doing with left tackle next year if they don't re-sign Garrett Bowles. They got to sign Quinn Miners. Patrick Surtain's going to want a new contract, and he's only 24. Who's another one? There's a bunch of them out there that are going to, deals coming up. Baron Browning's another one. Like, if they want to keep him, like I said, Surtain, you're going to have to pay Quinn Miners. That's one for sure. I know you have to pay. So and yes, they will have $100 million in cap space next year, but I don't think they're going to want to spend that on everything. I think they want to keep the key pieces around, like a Surtain, Quinn Miners, maybe Baron Browning, but maybe they say, hey, we're going to go in different directions. The money that we're going to give the Baron Browning, we're going to give the Sutton to keep him around another couple of years. But I just don't think so. I think they're going to want to keep these younger guys like Browning, like Miners for sure, and Surtain for sure. Like, they're going to want to pay these guys to keep them here. And they might even want to keep Garrett Bowles. Who knows? And Garrett Bowles, with as old as he is, I don't know if he's going to be looking for – he might look for a long-term deal. But if you – like, left tackles are not, easy to find. He's probably going to want some money. Being like, I think he was one of the top tackles in the league last year. You give him a multi-year deal, he's probably going to want the bag. It's probably his last chance to cash out before, he's not going to be able to anymore. And he's probably going to want it. So you're going to have to pay two guys on the offensive line. You're going to have to pay Surtain. You might have to pay Baron Browning. You got a lot of these guys that are coming up that you're going to have to pay. Maybe even Javonte if you want to keep him. Probably not with the Estime pick. If Estime balls, they might let Javonte walk next year. But I don't know. I think, honestly, if I had to decide right now what the Broncos are going to do next offseason, as much as it pains me to say this, like I said, if Estime breaks out, Williams is probably going to walk. I think he might be under a contract for another year, but they might just, trade him. They might just cut him. If Estime turns out to be that guy and he's on a rookie contract and Williams is like I want a payday before I get hurt again or whatever, they might let him go. Surtain's going to want a payday next offseason. Quinn Miners is going to want one. Probably, like I said, Garrett Bowles is going to want one. You got to keep that offensive line intact. You got to figure out what you're doing at center next year. Hopefully one of these other guys that you got at center pans out and you got your long-term solution there. But eventually you're going to have to pay one of them too. So I believe Sutton's probably going to walk. And honestly, I don't think it'd be smart. Keep him around for half the season until about the trade deadline. Bo Nix is doing well. Sutton helps him along. And all the other guys like Reynolds, Tim Patrick, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, all these guys are doing well. And they're, catching everything. They're doing good. At that point, if Sutton's stock is high enough, I know a lot of people don't like hearing this, but you got all these weapons at the receiver position. You like Sean Payton said he's going to want to get Marvin Mims more touches this year. in the passing game. Like, and with a crowded receiver room, like, unless Tim Patrick goes down with another injury, Sutton's probably not going to go anywhere. But if Tim Patrick stays healthy all year and he plays relatively well alongside Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Lil Jordan Humphrey, I can see them trading like, Sutton mid-season if, his, peak for his trade value is high, and getting some more draft picks for next draft next year and building this roster up more. And that way, you could take the money that Sutton's going to want. You could pay Quinn Miners. You could pay Patrick Surtain. You can pay, Garrett Bowles to stick around another couple of years and maybe draft a tackle next year. Maybe draft a pass rusher in next year's draft with your first round pick. That way you can bolster the defense. Because honestly, I've said this before and I'll say it again. To me, on the roster, the main things, there's the three biggest positions you need on a roster is quarterback is number one. Number two is the offensive line to protect your quarterback, keep him upright so he can deliver the ball and he's not getting, slammed every freaking play like Russell Wilson was last year. Granted, most of that was on him. And then a pass rush. You have to have an offensive line to protect your quarterback. You have to have the quarterback, and you have to have a pass rush that can get after the other team's quarterback and make them make mistakes. After that, like the fourth position, I believe is receiver, because you do need receivers to help your quarterback. But we've seen it over the years. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, but they didn't have elite receivers for the longest time, and they won championships or they've won games pretty much. Like, you don't have to have a elite receiving core. If you just have an average receiving core, but a good, a great offensive line, a great quarterback, and a great pass rush, you can win games. And that's why I think with the depth we have at receiver, I think if Cortland Sutton's like, I want more money next year, I think they would most likely either trade him or let him walk. So that way they can pay Quinn Miners. They can pay Garrett Bowles to stick around. And Surtain, generational talent, as much as I think corner is like the fifth one to me. Corner is number 5. Quarterback, offensive line, pass rush, receiver, corner. That's how it goes. And if that's the case, like Surtain's a generational talent. He's your defense. He's only 24. He's who you're going to build your defense around. But you got to pay these guys. And if Sutton's wanting a lot of money, I mean, if he wants to take a discount, then fine, great. You can bring Sutton back. But I think it's more likely that Sutton's going to want one more big payday because he's 28. By the end of the year, next year, he's going to be 29. He's probably going to want one more payday. If the Broncos don't give it to him because they want to pay other players, like on the offensive line and maybe Surtain, I can see Sutton being gone. But for now, he's going to be at mandatory minicamp next week. He will be at training camp. He will be playing on the team this season. Hopefully, in good conscience, the Broncos give him that $2 to $3 million pay bump that he wants, that guaranteed money, in good conscience. Even if they don't have any plans for him in the future, like I said, they want to, trade him in the midseason or they want to, let him walk next offseason, at least in good conscience to help your rookie quarterback out. Give Sutton the $2-3 million pay bump that he wants. And then that way, everybody's happy. You can get through this season. I mean, yeah, you probably don't want to spend too much money because this is pretty much an evaluation season. But I said a few weeks ago that this team might be a dark horse, or this could be a dark horse team this year. It really could. A lot of people don't think, like, we are ranked to have the worst quarterback room in the NFL right now. And nobody expects us to do anything. The standards are very, very, very low in Denver this year because of the Russell Wilson contract, the dead money that we're eating. A rookie quarterback that everybody was like, why did they take him at 12? And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's the best quarterback, pretty much out of this class. He went to the best, place. He went to the best, situation. Like, it went from Bo Nix shouldn't have been drafted at 12. What is the Broncos thinking to, oh, he's in the best position. He's got the best situation to be successful this year. Like, what? Like, this team could be a dark horse team to win. I'm not saying the division, but they could make the playoffs this year, make a run. It's going to probably surprise a lot of people. I believe that could be possible. Like, I'm probably more leaning towards the Broncos are going to make the playoffs this year, just for the simple fact I think that now that Sean Payton's got his guy to run his system, the sky's the limit. Like, even with everything. And by the end of the year this year, heck, I would even say by mid-season, the Broncos, people ain't going to be saying, oh, the Broncos have the worst quarterback room. We might have like middle of the pack, but it's not going to be the worst by any stretch of the imagination by midseason. And honestly, I don't think it's the worst one now. I've watched a lot of videos of other teams, Drake May with the Patriots, the Vikings with Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy. Like, honestly, I think those quarterback rooms are worse. You got Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy. McCarthy has not been looking good at practice. Sam Darnold, he's on his third team, I believe, or his fourth team. He's on his fourth team in like 3 years or 2 years. Okay, I don't know what to say about that. And then the Patriots, the worst thing about it is these guys drafted their quarterbacks higher than Denver. That's the funny thing. I've been hearing national media people talk about how McCarthy was drafted 10th overall. He's probably not going to start this year. It's probably going to be Sam Darnold. Same with the Patriots. Drake May was taken 3rd overall, and they're talking about Jacoby Brissett starting for the Patriots this year. And then now everybody's talking about Bo Nix is going to be the starter because he's already looking this really good in camp. And that was without Cortland Sutton attending OTAs. He's right there with Stidham. Like, this can't be the worst quarterback. You can't say that and then be like, oh, this is the worst quarterback room. If that's the case, then shouldn't the Patriots have the worst quarterback room? Shouldn't the Vikings have the worst quarterback room? I could even go as far as the Seahawks probably have the worst quarterback room, or even the Giants. And most of you know I was a big Drew Lock supporter. But if we're really going off, past and rookies, doesn't the Giants have a worse quarterback room? They got Daniel Jones, who's garbage, and then Drew Lock, who nobody apparently wants and hasn't been successful at all. So please explain to me how the Broncos have the worst quarterback room. That's not the case. I don't think they do. And Bo Nix is going to start. He's going to probably start over, he's going to start over Penix. He's probably going to start over JJ, and he's probably going to start over freaking Drake May. And all those guys were taken before him. So that can't be the worst quarterback room. But anyway, I'm rambling here. Sorry about that, guys. But anyway, Sutton's going to be at mandatory minicamp. He'll be back. He'll be at training camp. He'll be at preseason. He will play this year for the Broncos. And I really do believe that's going to help, Bo Nix thrive this year. Regardless if, like what I said earlier, if the other guys, receivers on the team play great and they could trade Sutton at, the trade deadline and get some draft capital for him, or if they keep him all season, he's going to be a big part of why Bo Nix is going to be really successful in his development. So please, guys, like, comment, subscribe on this video, and I will talk to you guys and see you guys Sunday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Colorado Sports Connection. I will talk to you guys later. Peace.